Welcome back to the KOM Morning News Medday Monday. A couple special guests with us in the studio and here for the first time. Happy to have Dr. Ryan Sorrell and nurse practitioner Jessica Hartsfeld from Freeman Health. Thank you both. Number one, thank you so much for your time this morning. Number two, I want to jump right in and talk a little bit about your backgrounds, because people at home, they may be looking right now going, wait a second, wait just a second. Why do they look so familiar? Ryan went to PSU. Jessica, you're lifelong Southeast Kansas resident. Tell us about setting up practice here and kind of what drew everyone together here in the 4 states with your practice in Frontenac.
Yeah, sure. So going through medical training and trying to figure out where you're going to set up shop when you get done. My wife's from Baxter Springs, so local to the area. Obviously, you mentioned I went to Pittsburgh State, so coming back to a smaller community to raise our family and set up and take care of the people of where I spent a good part of my kind of developmental life made sense to me. So,
Jessica, what's been your impetus for staying in Southeast Kansas and helping communities?
My family's here, pretty much same thing. Family, my parents still live in Arma. My siblings, I have lots of nieces and nephews. Wanted to bring my kids close to my family. So
now, a lot of people may associate the good doc and the good nurse practitioner with sports medicine, but there's a lot more going on, and people get a lot more, honestly, out of the family practice side of it, something that your office certainly does. So I'd like to start by asking you, this time of year, Doc, what are you seeing come into the office right now?
Yeah, so I think the big thing coming in right now is twofold. One, the seasonal, colds and things that go around. So people who don't have a doctor coming in to establish for that. What we find out a lot of times is they come in for colds or those type of things, and we find out, well, you've got blood pressure going on, and if we establish care and check labs, sometimes you find that cholesterol is high or pre-diabetes, and so trying to get people in to establish care and find those things before they become bigger issues, because unfortunately you don't really have a lot of symptoms with those things till they've been going on for a long time.
You bring up a very key point right there. I want to use it as a jumping off point, Jessica. Identifying issues before they get big.
yes.
I especially want to ask you, if I have a kiddo, what are the symptoms that I'm looking at that I can say, well, that's probably just a cold, or hey, I need to call the office?
Fevers, of course, uncontrollable fevers are a big thing. I mean, if you're concerned, it doesn't hurt to call. I'm there Monday through Friday, so I'm available all the time. Fevers are the biggest thing.
So it's err on the side of caution.
Yes, absolutely, especially with your kiddo.
And once again, they have their office up in Frontenac. They're with Dr. Sullivan. Ryan, I want to go back to you. After COVID, we're not completely over COVID. Hopefully we get closer day by day by day. Have you run into people that are hesitant to return to the doctor setting, whether it be because of the fear of reemerging in a healthcare setting, or, and I don't want to call it negligence, just the habitual practice of not seeking medical help?
Sure. I think there was a 1.5 to 2 year period there where we all kind of got isolated and somewhat driven away from the office because we were trying to be overly cautious and not expose people to undue risks. So, reintegrating there's definitely been some timidness on the patient side. And we've taken all the precautions that we can, and I think, like you mentioned, through vaccinations, and people have maybe had it at this point. So exposure risks are a little bit less now, and trying to get back in and get yourself taken care of where you maybe haven't checked in for a couple years, and how's my health doing, both mental wellness as well as rechecking labs, checking blood pressure, get back on track and kind of get going again.
And Jessica, from your standpoint as a nurse, if I could take you back 2.5 years ago and insert you into that office with that patient compared to where it is now, what are some of the precautions that the healthcare industry, and particularly your office in Frontenac, has gone through to make sure that that setting is not only safe for the patients, but also too for everybody who works there?
Well, like you said, vaccinations. Of course, we wear masks, we clean properly. It's a little hard for me to tell because I just started in the family practice clinic, so I'm new to this side.
But you've been in this healthcare setting.
I have
Some
been
of the
in-
drastic
I've-
changes
yes.
that you've seen are probably going to be taking place everywhere.
Yeah.
How big of a change has that been for you, job responsibility wise?
It's been pretty big. Just, I mean, you're not, I mean, of course, you always, patient comes first, regardless of everything. So, I mean, you know, standard practice in the hospital or in the office setting, it's the same. You're just being a little extra careful this time around.
Doc, when it comes down to encouraging people, hey, let's get back on the horse there and make sure that we're getting those routine checkups, whether it be an annual physical or whether it be, oh my gosh, it's been 2 years just since I've been to a doctor. How do you encourage people to do that?
Sure. You know, I think companies and insurance companies have done a job to kind of help us out a little bit. There's incentives for a lot of workplaces and through your insurance plans to help with premiums and kickbacks, which has driven a lot of people in that maybe otherwise wouldn't have come in. The other is if we catch things early, it's a lot easier to deal with and get ahead of, as opposed to, you know, sitting and playing catch up on the back end that, well, I've been putting this off and yeah, this hasn't been right for a couple of years. Well, now we're playing a lot more catch up, a lot more workup to do. If we catch things early, it's a whole lot easier to get ahead of it.
And so I hope that assuages everybody's fears when it comes back to getting and making those annual appointments that really are necessary. And once again, Doc, contact information and how we can get a hold of you and Jessica at your Frontenac office.
Sure. So our primary address, again, is in Frontenac on Willard off of the highway. What used to be the Sullivan Midwest Internal Medicine Clinic is now the Internal Medicine and Family Practice Clinic. So join forces there. You know, internet searches are easy to get a hold of either of us and find phone numbers and addresses.
Dr. Ryan Sorrell and nurse practitioner Jessica Hartsfeld, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And remember, even though you may think sports medicine, I really do want to emphasize the fact that they do family medicine as well. You can set that up, take yourself, take your significant other, take your kiddos to them. Doc, nurse practitioner Hartsfeld, I greatly appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for having us.
All right, you can find more on this interview at KOAMnewsnow.com, and we'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.